water goes beach, Byron Bay, most easterly point of Australia. You can't quite see it from here because of the cloud cover, but over in that direction there somewhere is Mount Warning, where I first heard the voice of Jesus and had my Jesus experience, and had a universal experience really, where prior to my illumination I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if there really was a God or a Jesus or anything, but I had some experiences of non-explainable spiritual occurrences in my life that needed further investigation and seemed to point to Jesus. So I spent the night up there alone. It's the highest point in Queensland on the eastern coast, and nearly froze to death. At that time I was investigating pretty much everything to do with God, all beliefs, all religions. I found a lot of harmony and peace in the idea of Native American beliefs, the Great Spirit, spirits of the four directions. One of my prayers up there that night was to the spirits of the four directions. There's some dolphins just out front here. I don't know if you can see them, just about here somewhere. And at that time, my Native American friend, he was a Navajo Joey, who's since left his body, introduced me to American Indian culture, and as a result of that, being only part-time employed, I started making these little medicine bags. He had one around his neck and I was intrigued by it at the time, and I started making them and selling them at the markets to try and supplement my income. And on the night I went up to Mount Warning, I made 4 very basic little medicine bags and hung them in the low scrubby bushes in the north, south, east, west position. And the top of the mountain is very, there's whales out there too on the distance. But the top of the mountain is very, small. Just see then right there, there's a water spout from the whales on their migration. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just feeling. I was just going with what I felt. I was just going with whatever inspiration came to me and just trying to learn to trust it. And I hung those little medicine bags there. I was all alone up there. I got there just on dark. It was about a 4-hour climb from the top car park to the top of the mountain, and quite arduous climb at the top, up a chain, hand over hand up a chain to get to the top, not for the faint-hearted really. But when I got to the top it started to rain and the temperature plummeted, and I wasn't prepared for that at all. I was wearing my buckskin fringed jacket, jeans, probably sandals or something, but I wasn't prepared for those temperatures. And there was 4 viewing platforms at the top, north, south, east and west, but no other shelter other than that. And the viewing platforms were open mesh steel, so trying to shelter from the rain under them was pointless. But I tried taking my jacket off and putting it on top of the one of the platforms and then scurrying underneath, using my jacket as a kind of a roof. But it didn't work. The rain blew in and everything. And eventually up there, absolutely sodden and freezing, it occurred to me that I could probably get hypothermia and die up there. And it was too dark to go back down. So I resolved to be about what I was intending to be about there. And in my little bag that I had a candle, some incense, I think, and a Mars bar, and a few other little things. I don't think I had a Bible. But in the cold, I lit my candle and huddled around it, trying to warm my hands. And I said my prayers to the spirits of the four directions and to Jesus, to want to know if Jesus is even a real thing, if there is a Jesus. And I asked for the wind to blow away the rain and the clouds so that I could have at least some sort of a night that wasn't completely drenched. And I curled up in the grass to go to sleep, to try to go to sleep against the cold. And the next thing you know, a big black possum came over to me, and my friend Joey had told me about when you pray to the spirit, you'll often be gifted an animal totem, an animal that will befriend you and help you. And this big black possum came over and sat down right beside me, like literally inches from my legs. And so I opened the Mars bar and I broke it in half, and I gave half to the possum, who sat upright and held his half in his two little hands, two little front paws, and ate it. And I ate my half, and then he wandered off into the darkness. And I went back to sleep. I curled up in the grass to go to sleep, and I don't know how long I was asleep for. Probably only about 15 minutes or so. I don't really know. But I was woken by this wind, this spiraling wind that was coming from everywhere, literally from the four directions. And within minutes, the sky was clear of clouds, the rain stopped, and it was a beautiful night, all night. I don't recall feeling cold after that, even though I know I was soaking wet. And I went to sleep again. After that, I gave thanks and went to sleep. And at about 4 a.m, 5 a.m, before sunrise anyway, I heard voices in the track down below me. And I remember a friend of mine had said people often come up there to watch the sunrise on the eastern platform because it's the first place in the state that the sun hits every morning. And so I thought, I won't just sit here like a doofus. I'll go over to where the chain comes up and say hi and introduce myself. And I did, and the first person that came up the chain was this guy, and he said, "Hi, I'm East." And I said, "I'm David." And the other one said, "I'm South," and "I'm North," and "I'm West." And there was 3 guys and a woman. And then one of them said, "We're the spirits of the four directions." And it was a very surreal moment for me, as you can probably imagine. I didn't know what to think. I was kind of flabbergasted when they said that, and I immediately showed them the 4 little medicine bags that I'd tied into the bushes the night before, and told them about my prayer and how it was answered. And they invited me to meditate with them on the east facing platform to wait for the sun. And so I did. I sat with them there and I was not very good at meditating at that time. I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd tried a few different meditations, but nothing that had really, you know, like a cross-legged sort of meditation wasn't something I was really used to. But I settled down with them. We sat in a straight line on this east-facing platform, and then after a while, I heard other voices behind us, and I realised that other people had come up the chain. And I heard this American accent of this woman, and she said, oh, look, honey, there's people meditating. Take a photo, take a photo. And they took photos of us from behind, and I turned around to look what was going on, and there's these 4 tourists clad in their Nike mountain climbing cameras, everything like. And then they wandered off to the other platforms, and I realised that north, south, east and west hadn't even been disturbed by them, hadn't even noticed them. And so I set about going back to my meditation, trying to focus on that. And at a certain point I realised, like the redness behind my eyelids, that the sun was coming up. And I remembered that my friend Nanda, who'd been in India for many, many years, told me that there's a group of people in India, I think they're Shivites, I'm not sure, but who meditate for the sun every morning, and they open their eyes when the sun comes up, and they can look for a moment directly into the rising sun before it gets too hot or too bright. And I can't remember what the benefits of that were supposed to have been, but I opened my eyes, and as I did so, there was a flare or a vision or something. I don't know, like I want, like in my mind I want to qualify it as a vision, but what it was could have been just bright light in my eyes or anything. But at the time I saw it, it looked to me like a silhouette of a man stepping out from the side of the sun and holding out his hand. It was like, at least that's what I think it was. Like what it actually was, I don't know. Like, to be honest, I really don't know. Just a flash, like a something. And I heard, but the thing that I heard was Jesus' voice for the first time. And it said, go wherever you want, do whatever you want, but never let go of my hand. And after that, we spoke briefly after they'd finished their meditation. I told them what I'd heard and everything, and I don't really remember their response, but they invited me back to their place at the base of the mountain for tea, which I did. I went back there, and then I hitchhiked home from there. And the precursor to all of this, which was unprompted by any kind of spiritual inquiry as far as I can remember, was when I was looking for a house, a place to live, and my parents were with me, and we had a real estate agent with us showing us this house. My parents were paying the deposit. And I was all over the place. I was really lost at that stage. I left my parents and the real estate agent out the front to talk about whatever. And I walked through the empty house and down the few little back stairs. And Mount Warning was on the horizon in the distance. And as soon as my feet, my bare feet, I had no shoes, as soon as my feet hit the grass, my feet became magnetized to the ground, like literally magnetized. I could not move my feet. Some sort of unseen force was holding me there to that position, and I looked up and there was Mount Warning, and it dawned on me that I had to spend the night up there. And as soon as I had that realization, the magnetic force stopped and I was free to go about my business.
But it was about a year and a half, I think, until finally I got around to going up there, and only at the prompt of my next door neighbour who I told about it. So, and today I was talking to Annie, which is always a pleasure, always divine. And she told me that a mutual friend of ours, Eleanor, also had a very Jesus-y experience at the top of Mount Warning. And it's interesting that Mount Warning is a Aboriginal sacred place where pre-colonisation Aboriginal men would take the boys up to the top for their manhood initiation, their manhood rites, whatever that was. And I don't know, it's just one of those very powerful sort of places. And at that time, pre-illumination, everything was on the external, everything was on the outside world. Sacred places, sacred journeys. And you would hear about, you know, going to the pyramids or going to India or whatever. And on a more localised frontier, I guess, going to Mount Warning in the area where I was living. But nowadays, of course, everything is sacred. There's no one specific place. It's like the holiest of places on earth is where an ancient hatred has been healed and become a present love. And that becomes a state of mind that you carry with you everywhere you go. But in those very early days of searching, of looking for meaning outside of myself, out in the world, looking for references that I could use to confirm that I was actually on some kind of a journey, that was a powerful experience. It was something that really, you know, nothing happened in my life for a year or two until after that. And I became more and more depressed and more suicidal, I suppose, after that, as I realised I didn't know what more I could do to further my inquiry into truth, into whatever was going on in my life that seemed to be prompted by universal forces. And I know I've made videos about this before, but I guess the reason I wanted to make this video today was because one I was prompted by Annie with her story about Eleanor, and plus for everyone that I know that's pursuing the unfoldment or the purification of their mind through A Course in Miracles, which is purely a external to internal teaching, I guess I want to offer that if there is an external prompt, it's something that maybe look at it, you know, maybe just allow it to be there and allow it to draw you and call you. Because there's been so many things in my own journey that I've tried to, or maybe I've dismissed under the idea that this is just an idea that I have in my mind about something outside of myself, which isn't true. It's an internal reference, actually. And I can't say for sure that the doing of whatever the prompt is isn't going to affect some kind of change or experience. And it seems to me often, you know, and the motto of the Course is listen, learn and do. But what that doing should look like from any given moment to the next, let it be miraculous, let it be unknown, let it be a mystery, let it be recognized in the doing. And I often tell people in our Zoom meetings and things like, get out of your comfort zones, leave your houses. You know, go for a year in the wild. Take some time out and just Go and do it like old school. Find yourself out there in the nature and in the whatever. And it's one thing to convert the nature of your consciousness in your own surroundings, but your relationship is universal. That includes nature, the heavenly bodies, animals, all living things, people around you. Every relationship you can conceive of in the world carries its own package, carries its own signature. And the idea of the spiritual teaching of never say never is a true one. It's like, I don't want to dismiss anything. If it comes my way, I at least want to sit with it and ask within myself, what do I do with this? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? Who would you have me talk to? What should I say? And it's like you're really learning God dependency, total dependence on the universe, and allowing that guidance to come through, no matter how unlikely or how strange or out of the blue it might seem. There's something within each of us, that spark, that divine spark of life and light that is constantly calling, which is the call to awaken, and learning to listen to it in all its tones, in all its harmonics, in all its vibrations, is something that you kind of tune into, something you become subtly aware of, something you feel as much as hear, something you feel as much as can qualify with concepts or ideas. I think it was Aurobindo who said, he used to say to his students, you have to make bold experiments with your faith, bold experiments with your spirituality. You know, new lands, I think the quote that I remember of his was, new lands are not meant for those who are content to stare from the shore, or content to stand on the shore and imagine what's on the other side of the ocean. You have to actually cross the ocean. You have to actually go out and do something, like make that journey. And sometimes it seems that it does look like that. I think one of the things that holds back most people from believing in themselves to follow their guide, to follow their guidance, is the comfortability and the security of the comfort zones, those defended ideas of person, place, situation, where nothing can permeate and nothing can enter. But life always finds a way, love always finds a way. But I always find it's more advantageous to recognize one's comfort zones, to be aware of them, and to be open to accepting that, yes, this is a comfort zone, this is a defended posture, a defended place that I find myself operating from or expressing myself from, so that an openness can occur. An openness can be felt in the heart to extend in ways unimagined, and then the situations will show up and the events will show up in order to be able to do that. The universe will provide the learning forum to be able to let go of those defenses and to enter in to a new experience of yourself that doesn't have those familiar references, that's ever expanding and ever revealing and ever giving. You can't teach that. You have to have it for yourself. You have to experience it for yourself. It's like it's really about the listening and the asking, the prayer of the heart. Here I am, Lord, guide me, show me, use me. And then the willingness to say yes to whatever that guidance is that comes. No matter how it might look, no matter how odd it might seem. You have to allow yourself to be dislodged, to be made new, to be reborn across the whole spectrum of your human experience. Liberation is of the mind, but you have to include the body, you have to include your physical experience in, which is a product of the mind, a projection of the mind, because that's where you witness to your transformation most of the time, at least in the beginning anyway. In those early years where you're coming to terms with the differences between what seems to be and what you think things are and what actually is. And you get shown, it gets revealed to you according to your willingness to learn. It's all about the letting go. Let go, let go, let go. Just say yes. Just say yes to the universe. And trust the process. Just trust the process. Live in faith. Become miracle-minded. And that miracle-mindedness will lead you to revelation readiness. Will lead you to the illumination of your mind. The memory of reality. Enlightenment, nirvana, whatever you want to call that. And that has nothing to do with this world. It has to do with truth. Truth eternal. The I am.